I'm just thinking about illusions and what it means when we say we're undergoing an illusion or suffering from an illusion or experiencing an illusion, particularly mental illusions. The illusion of being happy, the illusion of being of having a purpose in life perhaps, but more mundane illusions that we might go through. I mean, I've even heard it said that consciousness is an illusion, which I think is completely incoherent, because it's kind of the reversal of the Cartesian cogito, isn't it? If there's one thing we could be certain of, it's that we are thinking, we are conscious. We can doubt everything that we're thinking about, but the experience of thinking in the moment of thinking it is irrefutable, I think. But a lot of other things can be doubted. But can they be doubted on a kind of phenomenal level? And by that I mean at the level of experience, phenomenological kind of thing. Because, for example, because we do come across illusions in the world, don't we? Sometimes if you're driving down a road on a hot day, you see this film of water on the road ahead, don't you? And of course, as you drive up to it, it disappears, and you know that that's an illusion, a mirage. But the experience is an illusion. You are really, really, really having that experience, and that can be verified if you happen to be driving with an fMRI scanner strapped to your head, or whatever. It doesn't make sense to say that the experience is illusory, only that the source of that experience isn't what it appears to be, and we call that misrecognition and illusion. But the experience is completely real, as real as anything else, as real as if there was water there. And you see that as well with optical illusions. There's very famous optical illusions, isn't there, with lines which seem to be mimicking perspective and then horizontal lines crossing them. And if you do that, the top line looks larger than the bottom line, if you can understand that description. Because our visual system interprets, I'll just show you this path ahead. You see the sides of these paths, they're more or less parallel. And when we see lines converging like that, our visual system interprets it as perspectival shortening. And so if you do get things crossing that, then again our visual system will interpret the back one as being further away, and will make the necessary calculations. And so it'll appear longer to us. But we know that so whilst we know that that's an illusion, we know the mechanism, the illusion is so compelling that you can't think it away. Knowledge doesn't remove the illusion, does it? The illusion is real. In fact, it doesn't even make sense to say that your experience is an illusion. The thing you're looking at is being misrecognized, and there's an illusion in that misrecognition. But the experience is real. And the other one I'm thinking of is to do with, even more closely bound up to our sight actually, in our experience of the world, which is to do with depth perception. Again, I'll just show you this path and then do a little bit of a scan. You won't be able to see this, of course, because you're looking at this image on a single screen. But I'm not. I'm looking at this image on two screens called my eyeballs. I'm looking through with my eyes, and because of what I'm seeing depth. But that depth isn't, where is that depth? I mean, yeah, I can say there's depth out there, but where is that depth being registered here? There are no sensors in my eyes which code for depth. My retina has arrays of cells, the rods and cones, that kind of stuff in the back of my eye, which tell me where things are in space that way. But I don't have any sensors for depth which tell me how things are arrayed in that direction. That's a result, as I'm sure you know, of the fact that I've got two eyes separated by 3 inches of space. I've got parallax, therefore, so I've got two images being sent to my visual sensors in my brain. There's some calculations taking place which are rendering the differences between those two images as this perception of depth. This perception of depth which you're not having and I am. And again, so there's nothing, as I say, just to repeat, there's nothing in my visual system, the physical visual system, which is coding for that dimension of depth, whereas there are in these dimensions of height and width. And yet I'm seeing it. And it's not an illusion. My experience is not an illusion. But in terms of real perception, in terms of it's as much as an illusion as the mirage on the road, really, or as much as an illusion as the the lines which appear to be different lengths just because they happen to be overlaid on top of a set of lines which are converging in the way perspective converges. So yeah, so my experience has to be paramount in that, doesn't it really? It doesn't work to say that my experience of depth is an illusion, because then I would have to consign all the rest of those things to illusions as well. Well, or the other way around really. It doesn't work to say that the lines are, that my experience of these lines is an illusion. It doesn't work to me to say that my experience of that mirage is an illusion. And it doesn't really work to say that my experience of the world is purposive, or that's not a terribly good example, but my experience of happiness, or my experience of worth, it doesn't work to say those things are illusory either, because they are experiences ultimately. There isn't a place on the road I can stand and watch the happiness disappear. And even if there was, it's a compelling sensation, and it's a primary sensation. Just the way that depth is, look. You might as well just say, well, depth doesn't exist. Depth doesn't exist because there's no receptors. There's no photoreceptors which capture depth. Depth is just an illusion. I wonder what it was if it was an illusion. I don't know. Or height. Look at that. I'm looking to the end of the universe, look.